This should be played at high volume, preferably in a residential area.
It's the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast.
We're old school, right? We wash our own dirty laundry.
The name on the front is a hell of a lot more important than the one on the back.
I refuse to be judged by a grown man wearing a hockey jersey.
Game on! Game on!
We are back with another episode of the Dirty Laundry Game-Worn Hockey Podcast. A little bit different this evening. Both Paul out celebrating Monica's birthday, so happy birthday, Monica. And Wade scored tickets to the Blues game this evening, the Veterans game. It is episode 69. We have a couple special guests tonight in one studio together. Megan Cole and Devon Cook, collectors in the Detroit area who collect not just Detroit, but a whole bunch of stuff. How you guys doing tonight?
Well, how are you?
Fantastic.
It is awesome to, we've been working on scheduling with this and trying to get you on, and you guys had reached out, really excited about doing it. So thank you for wanting to come on and having a late evening in the Detroit area, but the awesome podcast setup you have and the jerseys behind you that we'll get to here in a few minutes. So very happy to have you both on. A couple things for tonight. As always, we do have to thank our main sponsor and the man of every evening or whatever time it is, Mitch, with the Drink Your Face Off line of pucks and sweatshirts and t-shirts and all that. And I'm actually drinking, because of Mitch, a special drink tonight, having a nice little glass of Belfour small batch. Saw Mitch's pictures from the National in Toronto, got to spend a little time with Ed Belfour up there, and he was so excited about it. So I figured I'd break out the Belfour to celebrate that this evening. So cheers to Mitch and everybody out there.
Cheers.
Lovely.
And like I said, if as I've said in the past with Belfour, regardless if you like him or don't like him as a player, if you can pick up a bottle of the Belfour line of bourbons, that stuff is amazing. The bottle is beautiful. It has the eagle on the top of the lid, stickers on the front. It's all fancy cut glass, and it is definitely top-notch bourbon. So if you can get it in your area, definitely get it. A couple of auctions to touch on. Buffalo Sabres military jerseys are out there. They are very beautiful. The design of the military jerseys themselves are pretty standard across the league, but the lettering is different. The three of us were looking at pictures of both St. Louis and Buffalo's before we started recording, and the jersey design is the same, but the lettering is different. And I like that teams are doing that. It's not just a standard, here's a camouflage jersey and here's camouflage numbers. They look really sharp. Classic auctions, that one's off and running with, I believe, 20-ish days to go on that. So we will continue to keep an eye on those things. But just a lot of general hobby stuff going on, and it seems like more people are starting to get Fanatics jerseys they bought. I saw somebody posted Rangers one they got the other day. Our past show we did about the codes inside the jerseys are continuing to stand up. I think we got 5 more of the Pro Authentics that the code matches, and the gamer we got a picture of from New York has the same gaming code that mine is, and a couple others. So that, what other thing is different between the Pro Authentic and the game jerseys, we don't know, but they are actually coded different and seem to do that. So that research project will continue. We want to get all teams documented, but we're getting pretty close. So now the big piece of the evening is Devon and Megan. So let's start with you, Megan. How did you get started into hockey and collecting?
I'd been, a hockey fan for several years, season ticket holder for a few years. Had never really gotten into collecting gear until Evgeny Svechnikov became my favorite player. Waited a long time for that to work out. It never did. Just figured eventually he'd make the team. And I didn't start actually collecting his gear until he left. So I made that really hard on myself.
But was there a reason why you waited?
Just just wasn't sure if it was right for me. And then once you knew that was it, it's now or never. I'm gonna pull the trigger and I'm gonna do it. And he kind of became the guy. And it, even though I was sad that he was leaving, it was also exciting to have a player that was gonna go other places and have the opportunity to get other gear from other places. And as much as I love our Red Wings jerseys, they're iconic. You can't make them any better. They're all the same. So him leaving gave me the chance to get some other things in a collection going.
And that's what's fun is just like we were talking beforehand with me collecting McKenna while he was playing and Chase Noodle after. It's funny to chase the different teams and deal with, is it my gray selling them? Is it the team? Is it a random auction? How are these coming out? And that had to be a little bit of a challenge to you in some of those teams.
Definitely.
So before you started collecting them, and Devin, I'll get to you here in just a second on this. Did you know there was a big collecting community or an availability to get the game worn jerseys and equipment?
Really only in terms of Detroit. Like I was aware of the equipment sale, would get little like kitschy things here or there, nothing, none of the big ticket items. Never got a jersey. I would get like a player hoodie or something like that. So I knew about it in Detroit, and then it just kind of, once I needed, it became a necessity. It snowballed and moved on from there to find other things, and yeah, so
And
mostly.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, just
Um,
new equipment sales and things like that.
okay. And Devin, what about you? First of all, who is your, as we can see in the background, I think I know the answer, but I'll ask you, who is your go-to collect your player?
My go-to collector is shockingly Alex Lyon. And we can talk as to why we like certain players, I'm sure, later in the episode, but I'll answer your first question first. Why hockey? Why collecting? I have been a hockey person for 42 years. I have not been a collector for long, far, far, far less. So, born and raised a hockey girl. My father was a coach, for the Birmingham Rangers here in Michigan. So I think one of my first shirts was Coach's daughter. And from there, it was just always part of my life. We went to lots of Red Wings games growing up. And we had, for those of you who are my age, you may remember the winger was our mascot in the mid 80s. So my parents actually took me to a game, and back then the nets didn't come all the way down. So my father at intermission handed me over the glass to the winger, who skated me around Joe Louis Arena. And I, at like 2 years old, waved, and I was like, oh, this is my sport. And meanwhile, my mom's freaking out that there's a large red bird skating her toddler around the arena. So I really did grow up with hockey in my blood.
I'd say, please don't drop her.
Exactly. I survived, so it turned out okay. But my brother always played travel hockey. He mostly played for the Birmingham Rangers as well, honey baked for a short time. But so I grew up in the arena, and people always said, did you play? And I think it was completely arbitrary around 5 or 6 years old. My mom said, okay, we're driving all over every weekend between Brennan's travel hockey and your dance. You got to pick hockey, dance. And I said, dance. Imagine if I had just said hockey that day, as kids do. Would I be who I am today? So no, I grew up dancing competitively, and that was my first passion, but hockey has always been my sport. So I met Megan because of my love for hockey. I had been taking clients to Red Wings games incrementally, and finally said, all right, I just need to get my own season tickets. Let's make this happen. And my husband and I were going to every game, and I kept seeing, there's a few of us who go to Red Wings games. And I mean like two of us who go to Red Wings games wearing big red hair bows with our jerseys.
You got to match. I mean, come on.
And so I spotted her, and I was like, hey, we're either going to be like best friends forever or just be like, you're the other bow girl. What's up with that? So we introduced ourselves and became great friends ever since. And it wasn't until that time that I realized my love of hockey could also be this love of collecting, which I've done in other capacities in my life. So really, Megan opened up my eyes to that world. I had just had a few pieces here and there because I loved a particular player and, wanted to have something that was part of hockey history. So I had a few things, and then it really exploded. Very quickly.
Right. Funny how that seems to happen is how many collectors I met. And again, my focus is blue stuff, talking to blues collectors, but also talking collectors that have reached out in other teams that are just asking questions. And, oh yeah, I bought this one 3 months ago and now I have 7 jerseys. That how
Yes.
quickly that it can snowball, sometimes fun, sometimes dangerously, when you forget what you ordered, if you're not picking it up and just randomly things show up at your door. Wait, I
Yes.
forgot I ordered that one.
I
Yeah.
bid on that auction. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Right.
But I actually think it was I know we'll talk about the equipment sale this past summer for the Red Wings, but it was meeting members of the community that made it inescapable to grow your collection very quickly. Because I think when you meet like-minded folks who understand your passion for the game, but then also how much you really appreciate something that is game worn or game used, and understand why that matters. Folks like to look out for each other. I know you've hooked Megan up with really cool pieces in the past. And as soon as people in Detroit saw me in line at the sale, or we met through, Megan's network, they know, like, they will reach out to me constantly. Oh, there's an Alex Lyon Philadelphia nameplate, or do you know the Carolina sales tomorrow? Make sure you're on it. And I never would have even had those things on my radar, but the community is so passionate and caring for one another, because I think they all just get why we are so into what we're into.
And even though a lot of what I've helped Megan with is Wade, Megan, and blue stuff, again, he was a fine player for us. Wasn't with us really that long, but I can't collect everything. So I know that's her, like you said, that's her passion. That's one of the ones we look out for. Okay, anything that pops up for that, I'll just shoot her a message. Hope she gets it. And we've seen stuff come out on the blue store or random auctions because they've hoarded stuff, and you don't know where you'll stumble across it. And how I got or met Megan the first time is I had one up for sale that had already sold minutes before, but then I knew going forward that's what she was looking for.
Yep.
So yeah, it's fun because you make those connections and you never forget, oh yeah, that person wants whatever they want. And even if it's something I may want, okay, that, you know what, I'd rather help them out, because then I may end up with something better later, or they'll help find me something, whatever it is. It's not just, well, I'll beat them to it. No, let them have it.
Mm-hmm.
So how long have you guys actually known each other now?
It's a little over a year now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so not long at all.
So you would think we have been friends since childhood. We have a ridiculous amount in common. Yeah, and now Megan's responsible for the fact that I have to dedicate an entire room of my house to my collection. So
you must.
And what did your husband say, Devon, when you started amassing this stuff? Was he shocked, surprised, supportive, or like, wait, you're now starting to bring all these game worn jerseys and equipment?
yeah, he was a little concerned about where we would keep them. But no, I think he's understood that I've always been such a fan, and I've always enjoyed having, I love history in general. So when you think about being able to document a game and why it mattered, or a player and what they contributed to a particular team or a season, it was something tangible. He absolutely was like, okay, that's already something that she does in many capacities. So this was not a stretch whatsoever. And I had my little collection, I will say, a few things here and there from the players I've admired for several years. But yeah, it really escalated when I realized that this community existed. So he's really supportive. But I will say, it's funny because when we've gone to various collector events or signings, usually because I'm a goalie collector, he's kind enough, being over 6 foot, I'm 5'2", to carry my bag for me. Everybody assumes the collection is his. And he has to say, oh, no, this is hers. This is hers. He's got a couple of really good game used pieces, but I think his best is probably he has a Series 2 Raymond from last year. But otherwise, I mean, I think my collection is 95% larger than his.
So he's your bellboy, just to carry the stuff around to go to that's hilarious.
But everybody thinks it's his collection, and he's like, no, you can't assume.
You talk to
the
her.
fire cover. Yeah.
So, but before we go back to Megan, I'll ask you first, Devon. What's your favorite piece in your collection?
Oh, that's such a good question, and I should have probably prepared that. I would say from a sentimental perspective, the first, oh, that's really hard. Okay, the thing that I worked the hardest to get and had to wait the longest for was Alex Lyon's first Red Wings blocker. And that was really special to me because if you know much about him, his first game as a Detroit Red Wing was actually in the Czech Republic when we were in Sweden. Sorry.
The
That was
Global Series.
Yes, that was this jersey. Yes. No, it was in Sweden for the Global Series. So his first game coming back at LCA was a home game. I think it was November 22nd last year. It was the day before Thanksgiving, and he made quite the debut because it was a shutout against the New Jersey Devils. And we had no idea that this goalie, who I admired for a very long time, would be playing for the Red Wings when we bought those tickets, or that he would be starting, or that he would end up getting a shutout. And so my husband, my brother, and I happened to get tickets front row that game, right behind the net where they shoot twice, our goalies in net twice. So it was like this perfect, just the most wonderful night, and a game I will always hold dear. So I really wanted something from that game, and I ended up getting his both of his series one red jerseys. So I know I have the jersey he wore that night, but the blocker was the thing I was coveting forever. So when I finally got it, and it's so scratched up and I could match the marks, it just felt like I will treasure this so much. I can't explain it.
Now, did you end up picking up that through an auction, or was it at the equipment sale and you stumbled across knowing that was that blocker?
Yeah. Equipment sale.
Wow.
Yeah, and there were a few. So it took a minute to match them, but we did.
And then now with Megan, you've got both all the jerseys there behind you. But you also, like we talked about, is you have sounds like a large volume, at least from what I know of the blue side, and others of Wade Megan. Why also him?
I mean, what are the odds that a man would have his last name be my first name? Just kind of.
I honestly figured that was a reason, but I wanted to ask the question here because I never even asked in all the times chatting and helping you find stuff.
I volunteer every year at training camp, and he was at camp for us his first year, and just seeing it and like squinting, I'm like, is someone playing a joke on me? Like, why?
Why am I on this
What
list?
is that? What is his name? And then once I realized that was his real name, it was like, because he was kind of like a bubble guy. I was like, let's go, Wade. We got to make the team. I need jerseys. But yeah, I was definitely not on top of his Red Wings stuff. So I actually have more other teams items for Wade. A lot of the Wings jerseys just disappeared. I know he had a couple team issue. He did play his 10 games up with us, so there are at least like a set one for him, but I don't know where they went. I did a bad job with him. I really screwed that one up. But I do
find them.
Yeah, I do have his training camp jerseys. So I know, as you've heard before, the Wings had recycled them over and over again. So I got 22. So I've got his 22s and his name bars, so I can put them back together. So at least I've got those.
You do, yeah, you do have those connection, and maybe with people hearing this podcast, somebody will cut one loose, or at least keep an eye out.
For sure. Definitely looking for a Red Wings Wade Megan, for sure.
So what is your favorite jersey or piece of equipment of anything you have?
Favorite jersey or favorite piece of equipment? I do collect, obviously, Evgeny Svechnikov too. And I don't think there's anything special in that collection. It has a nickname. It's called the Svechnik collection. I think the only thing that makes it interesting is just the volume of stuff. It's a lot for one guy. I think I've been working pretty hard on him for a while. I do collect Andre too, but that's high dollar stuff. That's risky stuff for me. I do think that maybe some of my favorite things, and they're not even really actually gear. I do have a Red Wings goal puck from Evgeny and a goal puck from Andre. And Andre's goal puck was actually that like tester tracker puck. So it was
has all the little dots on it.
Yeah, the first like generation of that when they ditched it maybe 10 games in. So it's one of those ones that didn't quite work out. So those are kind of a little set that I like to have together of Andre and Evgeny. I don't know that there's a lot of options out there for Evgeny goal pucks. So it's probably a harder thing to put together.
But it's a cool, unique piece too. It's not just like you said, you've got a ton of jerseys and they're all cool, but it's not as special as that.
Yeah.
If there is any piece you could own from anybody, what would it be?
Oh, it's so hard. I would really love to find it's never going to happen because I think he played 2 games originally. Evgeny's original AK Bars jerseys out of Russia. He
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful jersey too.
2 games, and he did spend. So since he's left the NHL, he spent. Was it just 1 year with them? So there should be other AK Bars out there for him. That would be this last season, and now he's with Torpedo. So any of that stuff out of Russia would just
And those are so hard to get in general.
so hard to get. Yeah, but that's hoping that maybe someday I could find one of those. And then I think he played for the Cape Breton Screaming Eagles too. If I could find one of those, that'd be amazing.
Hey, and again, let's hope maybe this podcast brings more people together and they reach out, find it, or somebody at least says yes, it's in this collection, so you at least know where it is. Devon, what about you?
That's actually a super easy one for me, and it won't shock you, Jason, being a goalie yourself. The most coveted item of any goalie collector, of course, is a mask. But incredibly, if not impossible to get. And I also have to say, because you'll appreciate this, Jason, Alex Lyon's first NHL masks, I think maybe 3 or 4 of them, were painted by Dave Art in the theme of horror movies. So when I started
even better.
Yeah, when I started following Alex, as most would, they would assume that he must be a huge horror movie fan. And he had said later in an interview at some point, or maybe it was a podcast, it's funny, I just give the artist free reign. They're so good at what they do, let them create. And so I think he's probably more of a comedy guy. So he has these beautiful, his Lehigh Valley in Flyers mask from like maybe 2016, 2017 was, what's the movie? Sixth Sense. And he's got like Bruce Willis painted on it. He had another one, he had Saw, which was really cool with like what's the jigsaws, like cheeks and just some wild ones. But honestly, I would be happy to have any mask. Just the art is just, I mean, you could probably do a whole show on that because it's just stunning what they are able to do.
It's insane. And you see some of them pop up in via classic auctions or other places. Some players, like in the case of McKenna, he's kept every one of his. So he would design them all, would work with his artist, do the backplate a certain way, and I've seen them in person in his collection, but every one of them is in his house. And I know some other goalies are the same way, but others, once they're done playing for that team or new design, don't care, and it ends up in a collector's hands or goes to the auction or the team sells it, and they get expensive and depending on who they are hard to find. Hopefully you can find one. And again, somebody may reach out and say, yep, I know where they are, who has them. Here's pictures. So you at least know if they're out there. And some teams seem to just like keep them in a closet and eventually show up, or the trainer sell. I mean, whatever it is, but hopefully you'll be able to come across it at some point.
I hope so. That would be the dream.
Yeah, those are the goalie masks are so fun to work with designing and laying stuff out. And I've been lucky in the couple that I've done for myself, as I've, with permission of artists, have borrowed their design because I didn't think I could beat it. My current one I wear is the Brodeur Blues design that I got direct permission from his painter to work with a vinyl person, because I can't. The paint jobs are $1,200+ vinyls $4. But he was doing Brodeur's son's mask. So I worked with both of them, got permission, and they did it. And then the previous one is all the different Blue Note designs all over the mask from the different years. And the artist that was doing Jake Allen's at the time, I got his permission and we did it in vinyl. But it is just the goalie artwork looking back over the years and the different teams, even if it's a team you don't like, looking at those designs are just so cool. But yeah, you and I both have a good soft spot for goalies. So
Yes, that's one of my favorite parts of every new season because every game I just want to see what the new goalie artwork looks like for everybody. Even like you said, the goalies that, the teams I don't follow or would consider our biggest competition. I am so excited to watch them for the goalie masks.
and see what new different things. I know when Dallas did their nuclear green stuff and they made the helmet glow and all that.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Even if you hate Dallas, just the concept of what they did is awesome. Um, so now getting into and we've covered awesome collections. I think it's funny. You guys were talking before we came on the air here to record the volume of stuff you brought into the podcast studio there. I wish it could all fit on screen.
I wish we should have probably just done this in Megan's basement because it rivals any real locker room I have ever seen, but it's really beautiful. And now my little study, it's pretty cute, small room, but it's getting there. But we were fortunate to have a friend give us her real podcast studio, so we tried our best.
And it looks phenomenal, but it was funny. You said you brought in goalie stuff. Megan was holding up gloves earlier. You've got a goalie catch glove there. I mean,
got all kinds of things in this room.
I'm surprised you guys just aren't wearing them as we're talking. It would throw a helmet on.
You do not want to smell.
Yeah, knowing my goalie gear, even washing it, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, the goalie pieces are about the worst for throwing it in a room and then come back later and like, what the hell's that smell? Regardless of how much the team said they've cleaned them. So, and I think it's so awesome that in very short order, you guys have become super tight and friends. And let me ask this: who started collecting jerseys first? Or had you both kind of picked some up?
It was me.
And
I've drug her along on this journey.
Yeah. Yes.
So you kind of taught her, oh, by the way, do you know this kind of stuff's available? And then help her kind of give pointers on where to find what?
Meanwhile, my husband's cursing her name under his breath. Yes, she did.
Yes.
I had a few things, but no game worn jerseys. I had signed jerseys.
Sure.
But gosh, game worn is so much better.
So fun.
Yep, because beside, like you said, the history and those kind of things, and then when you get the pieces, going to photo match them and linking them to games you're at, or those special memories. It's not just, oh yeah, I got this and I got to meet him at some event and he signed something. No, he wore this in this game, got a shutout or did whatever, and it's those connections are so cool.
Mm-hmm. Good and bad, I would say. Like, the story I told about the shutout and the first time Alex played at home was, of course, a wonderful memory. But everything that happens in the season is part of the story and the legacy. And I brought this one this is actually from the Czech Republic, not Sweden, from the summer. So after the Wings season ended, we had a good number. I think it was Alex Lyon, Jeff Petrie, Augustine. A few guys, of course, coaching staff too, went to the Czech Republic to play for Team USA. And I was so excited that I would get some more time to watch the guys. And I actually took some work off to watch this particular game when, unfortunately, during a rush, I feel like in Europe, a lot of times they sort of rush the net. Like it seems like that happens more. I don't know, but
European style for sure.
Yeah, European style. So there was just chaos in front of the net when Lyon was in, and somebody stood on his hand, and it went, and it was very bad, like a lot of blood. Of course, being a hockey player, he skated to the bench, tried to come back out, and they're like, yeah, that's a lot of blood. No, so it ended up being worse, and he did have to leave the tournament and fly back to US to see the doctors here. But this was the jersey he was wearing at the time. So not a great memory, but you think about like what happened and what he went through. And I was like, yeah, that's definitely something I would just love to have to tell the full story of his career.
Now, did they get it washed completely so there's no blood stains anywhere, unfortunately?
Yeah, there's no cloning Alex Lyon. No blood. No, no, no.
Again, it's those little pieces that sometimes the general public or the collector, unless they saw that game, didn't know that happened. It's an unfortunate story, but that jersey's now tied to a bigger incident or a bigger issue. And again, something you can talk about more, and it's not just another Lion jersey.
Exactly. My mom came over the other day to see how we had set up the study and everything. She said, Devon, you need to write down all these stories on a little card and like laminate them and hang them with each jersey because God forbid something happens to you. I can't remember all these stories. Like, Mom, I'm so glad that's the thing that you're concerned about, but I'll get on that.
Right. And it's getting easier. It's gotten much easier now, especially with the NHL jerseys, because you can go to the NHL page, pull the stats up for whatever games or sometimes if the Red Wings didn't document well, it's your best guess of what jerseys were worn when. But a lot of the teams now, I know San Jose's done some with it. We talked extensively with the Blues on it, is using the barcoding and they scan the games, the jerseys in and out of the games, when it's worn. And the plan going forward for the Blues is now when they send the stuff is putting the stats for whatever game they played on it as well, which I like. It's cool, and I'm glad they're wanting to do that. But I also like researching that myself because it's part of the process and part of the fun of getting the jersey. Because either I watched the jersey in auction and researched it then, or I picked one up randomly with no or little details, and then can go find and build the story. And that's part of what makes the hobby so cool. Because if you just get handed a jersey and you know everything, it's just not as fun.
So you need to take that, seal it, don't look at it, do your research, and then you can say,
check
"Oh,
them.
was I accurate?
Or were they wrong?
Did you find more than they found?"
And that's, we've heard that happen with a lot of teams. Oh yeah, this jersey was done this, and then people go photo match outside of the time frame that they were told, and they found it was worn again, or there's a patch outline because it was recycled or used as a backup, whatever. But no, you're very right. Is take whatever the teams give you, but also look on your own.
Yes, definitely.
So not all that long ago, you guys had the Red Wings sale, and who was number one and who was number two in line of you two? I'm gonna say split one.
We drove together, parked together, walked together, and set our chairs down. So it would be real tough to say.
Oh, 1A. So just like goalies, sometimes a 1A, 1B.
Yeah, but we're like a true tandem. So, we're like a Linus and Jeremy Swayman situation where you know which game you're gonna get, like no fighting. So
And when you got in front of the doors and sat your chairs down, did you guys jump into each other like those two?
Of course.
always the goalie hugs. No, we couldn't. It works out great because we have, besides Pyotr Kochekov, no overlap in our collection lists. Which is like a really funny random person to overlap with. But we also really both collect sort of, I don't want to say random, but like, we're not collecting your captains of your teams or so it's funny that we can help each other in that capacity, and there would never be any,
You're not both pulling on the arm of a jersey. No,
exactly. Yeah. Thank God that won't come between us.
So what time did the sale start and what time did you get there?
Oh, this is embarrassing. Do we need to admit this?
We have to now.
Okay, we're on the hook. So the sale started Saturday at
10?
10 a.m.
10?
And one of us, it was me for those of you not watching on YouTube, was very concerned that somebody would just come in and buy all of Alex Lyon's game-worn jerseys. And immediately that would be the first item to go, not Patrick Kane. Clearly it would be Alex Lyon. So I insisted that we get there after work on Thursday. So we left work early and we got there at 4:30 on Thursday. And the sale
4:30 in the afternoon.
4:30 in the afternoon on yes, I should clarify, 4:30 p.m. on Thursday for the sale that started at 10 a.m. on Saturday.
And what's wrong with me? Why did I consent to this?
She's a great friend.
So for a very long time, my favorite player was Luke Glendening. Loved him. And I never made it in time to an equipment sale to get a single jersey. And I was terrified that that might happen to her, and we couldn't let that happen.
Isn't that sweet?
That is true friendship. And again, like you said you feel like you said you both felt like you've grown up together, and it shows with that for sure. That is dedication. And I will say I've gotten to sales early, not quite that early. We camped out for one, got there at 1:30 in the morning, and I think it opened at 11 that day. But I had an hour and a half drive down there. But I understand that dedication.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I was really worried because these were his first jerseys here in Detroit.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you don't always get that opportunity to have the first one when it's your favorite player that you've been collecting. And I mean, you started following Alex during COVID.
Yeah.
So it was just, you were having those.
I didn't think he was going to play for the Detroit
you
Red
never-
Wings. That was
in
wild.
that-
So
in
to
that
have,
time?
if I had thought, oh gosh, if I had only come a day earlier, I would have had his first Red Wings jersey. I would never have been able to live with myself. So we just didn't take any chances. But the funny thing is, so most people in the Detroit collecting community have run into Megan, know Megan. I was this wild card. Like, they'd seen me around, but they weren't entirely
You were the
sure.
mystery.
Yeah, and so it was so much fun because, well, I can talk about Robert. He was a guest on your show.
Oh yeah,
Robert,
fantastic guest, great guy.
oh, the best. Yeah. So he and his new wife, I can say, were Rima, who lovely. They were right behind us in line. And
What time did I don't remember what he told me in his interview. What time after you guys got there did he get there?
6:30.
I was gonna say they were 6:30.
So Thursday at 6:30.
Yeah, thinking they were going to be the first. So
I think they were just doing a drive-by and they were like, oh no, there's people
people
there.
there. They were like just scoping it out, and oh yeah, I mean, we're late now. So I mean, if you've listened to his episode for our listeners today, he is a huge Mo Cider collector, and Mo Cider is a hot ticket item, right? We just signed him for another 7 years. He's great, starting defenseman. So everybody assumes, gosh, she must be there for a cider or a Raymond or a Larkin or a Kane. Why is she first in line? Who is this woman? So they were just giggling when they learned that at the time, right, at the start of last season, Alex Lyon was our third string. I don't think he should have been, but he was. So it was just really funny to see that was what the first person in line was for. But you said it really well, Megan, on our drive over here to do the podcast tonight. It only takes one person to be in line in front of you, and then you will miss out on everything.
I'm sure that there was one specific person who was very dedicated to collecting Luke Glendenning, and if he's before me, it's over.
Yep.
So I always blamed myself. If I was that concerned with it, I should have got myself there. I know this, and I didn't. So we weren't going to let that happen.
Yeah. And then we had, so I think there was Robert was 6:30, and then there was one other gentleman who came about an hour or two after them, and then there was a lag. But that night there was a core group of like a dozen of us who were there for over 2 days, and we all became very close, very good friends. Of course, learned everybody's life story, but there was a couple people who just, well, so who's she, whispering, who's she here for? And for a while, I was just playing with them because it was hilarious, and I was not going after any of their big ticket items. And so then, of course, I explained my history and my love of goalies, and they were all like, "Why is she here?"
And she's first in line for him.
No, and I don't mean that. Like, I think I think everybody should follow Alex Lyon's career. He's had a great one, but yeah, it was not necessary is the point. But I will say it was a tremendous experience. I am a high maintenance gal, yet camping out on the streets of Detroit for 2.5 days was one of the most fun things I have done. In random weird, yes, but the people that I met, I will be friends with forever. It's just
ask this too is when you told your husband what time you were going, what did he say?
he said, well, you're not making me go at that time, right? And then as soon as I said, no, Megan's coming. Oh, okay, that's fine then.
Call me if you need anything.
Yeah.
I'll get home.
I mean, he knew what he was getting himself into when he married me. So I think he knows I kind of marched to the beat of my own drum. So no, he didn't question my motives too much, just if he had to also be there that early.
So, and if I remember the story too, you guys were kind of pushed off the property a little bit too, waiting at least till sometime the morning of.
Yeah. You know more about that than I do.
Yeah.
I had to work a little bit, so
Megan was popping back and forth for a little bit. So we got there, waited outside the team store, and Robert told this story about her because he was, one of the gentlemen actually negotiating where we might actually be able to line up to keep things fair and orderly. But they told us that because of lack of security or whatever, we couldn't be on the actual property. So we had to move about, I don't even know how far that would be, but down by Harry's, the bar, if you're familiar with Little Caesars Arena. Everyone was really nervous because you could barely see the team store where the sale was going to start. And we knew people would be trickling in and wouldn't necessarily know to line up behind the folks who had been camping out for 2.5 days. I wasn't that stressed out, but it was definitely a point of contention. It all worked out in the end. It was fine. But yeah, there was a little bit of drama, I guess you could say.
Oh, and now going forward, if you're going to do it that early, you make a little sign like you can put up that says the line starts here. So you guys can just like mount that. So when you get pushed off property a little bit, you at least know right where you get everybody's attention, and that's where it happens.
it'll be interesting to see how they handle it next year, if they stick to that or if we're allowed to just do our thing, or who knows what it'll be.
And I know in some years past where a lot of people showed up, they would hand out numbers so you could actually go home and sleep, and then you showed up 2 or 3 or 4 hours before and your place was saved because of that. I mean, yes, that's nice, but what you talked about, meeting these people and making memories for almost 2 days.
Yeah, and you really earned your
Yes.
your opportunity, I think. I know it's a lot for people, and work is certainly a factor in families and obligations, but if you can do it, it really was just such a great way to connect and share stories of hockey and your love of the game and why you're there doing what you're doing. And I think it's a really unique way to make those connections, but it was a lot of fun. And I never thought I would say that.
Yeah. Did you, and we'll get to the actual getting inside doing that in a second, but just a side question of is when you guys were both done and the sale was over, did you just go back home and collapse?
Pretty much, didn't we? Did we do something?
It's really a blur.
A lot of it's probably the adrenaline, because once you get into the sale, your adrenaline just goes through the roof.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember, which is a sign that, yes, I absolutely must have collapsed because I can't recall what I did when I get home. Oh, no. The first thing I did was take out all of my findings and set them all up and admire them and take a couple of photos. And then I collapsed. That's what the order.
That's a priority right there. Now, Megan, did you do the same?
I wasn't really a big purchaser that day. I was, yeah.
You were just arms for Devon.
Yeah. Just here to help.
You got a couple things.
What did I buy?
I think, didn't you get your 22s? Or
Oh,
no,
yeah,
you got your, I can't remember. Her collection is so vast. Trying to remember what came when is really.
Yeah, I wasn't really there for anything, just to help you out. That wasn't a buying day for me.
No.
All my stuff is out.
Can you believe the first person in line is saying that? She was there for the camaraderie. That is dedication.
You know and yeah, you're right. And that shows how collecting and this kind of stuff brings it together and even brings your friendship. So as more people started trickling in, and probably more of the line was sharing who people were looking for what and all those kind of things, and you get the countdown that the doors are about to open, how much of the anxiety and excitement ramp up as you knew the minutes were ticking down?
Oh, it's so hard.
It was so much fun. We were literally jumping. I mean, actually, I think I was doing some old Palms routines from high school, like actually so much adrenaline, could not sit still. You would think we had just gotten there with it. We had way more energy than the people who had just strolled out of bed that morning and had cups of coffee in their hands. And I think we were all running on pure fumes. It was cute. And so since we are both 5'2" in the front of the line, we had Robert and another guy behind us who we had become great friends with. We said, okay, ladies, we do not want to plow you over. So just tell us, are you going to go to the right or to the left? Because we just don't want to, we don't want to hurt you. We don't want to step on you. So there was actually a strategy of directions. Yeah, we got to choose if we, which direction, since we were first, where we wanted to go. But they were
so
going to.
awesome.
Thank you so much for not plowing us over and trampling us.
So they opened the doors, and first of all, which way did you go?
I think we pretty much just went straight back
Yeah,
to the
we went-
concourse
yeah.
because the jerseys were pretty much all lined up in the concourse. And I feel like this particular year they were all labeled really well. So
They were very
it was
organized.
pretty, you could know, okay, that sign, I know I should have something I want on that rec. So it was a little bit easier than that. And there was a lot of volume just with the training camp jerseys coming out. There was so much stuff. It's not usually that voluminous. There were
with the Adidas switch and to Fanatics, and that a lot more than you normally expect.
That definitely added a lot of other additional shoppers who may not have been there too, trying to get Adidas while they could.
And I think it was nice because I don't think anyone walked away without something that day. There was so much opportunity that everybody found something that they wanted.
Yeah.
And which is, I think, rare.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a tough thing to do. And there's some people, it's 100 people who want one thing and there's 99 people who are sad they didn't get it and only one happy person. So it's such a tough thing sometimes. So it was nice that everyone kind of walked away happy from that one.
Yes.
Now, did you both go to the jersey racks looking for Lion and other stuff, or did one of you split off and go look at the gear as well?
Oh, I think we did jerseys first.
I do think we did jerseys
because there were so, like Megan said, just so many. There were exhibition whites and reds, series ones, whites and reds, series two, whites and reds. The sad to say, but the playoff player issued, never worn. Yeah, there were those. Then there were practice, white, red, black prospects. So I think there were just so many racks, which was like just so wonderful and still made it fun where you just weren't like, okay, that's the thing I waited for 2.5 days. I'm ready to leave now. Like you had some time to really dig and find things that you weren't expecting. Tell them about Kane and DeBrinket's socks. There was socks and they always have.
Oh, yeah. So for the most part, the Wings don't number socks because there's really no reason to unless they've done something special. And it was actually the same with Evgeny Svechnikov's socks. But so they cut theirs off because they're not the tallest guys. So they're
a little on the shorter side.
They're cut off, so they are numbered. So if you have DeBrinket or Canes, but nobody else really numbers. And
that's cool though. That's something. Now, did you buy either one of those?
We didn't get any socks.
I don't think we got socks that day.
Just observation.
Yeah, but if you know what you're looking for like that, and there was so much, it was actually fun that you could dig and you would know, okay, this is a Kane sock. You can see how he cuts it, but you have to know, you have to do your homework, so you could tell.
Evgeny did the same thing in a lot of places because he had the knee issue, so he had a knee brace, so he had one large and one extra large, so he would be one of the few people who would have numbered socks because they needed to give him a large and an extra large.
But again, those things that are documented or you found out about them through one thing or another or collecting or whatnot are stuff that 99% of the collectors don't know. But if they ever come across that for those players, be it with the Wings or somewhere else, now that'll be a spark. Go, oh yeah, that makes sense because of this thing. And those are even just for socks or tweaks with gloves or whatever. It's cool to know the things that don't really get out unless you're collecting that person or you've laid hands on it.
For sure. Svechnikov actually does have one special thing. This is how you know it's an actual Evgeny jersey. He tucks his sleeves and every team does it differently for him. This is his Grand Rapids Griffins jersey and they literally just made holes and tied it. But
that's a weird modification way to do
that. He tightens his gloves so he can pull them up.
I've seen a lot of guys where basically the end few inches of the wrist they tighten up so the guys can slide them back. but that's it. I've not seen many that go back that far.
He goes back really far, and the Sharks would actually stitch that for him. I forget what Jets did, but something similar. But it's an Evgeny jersey that he wore if the sleeve is tucked up that way.
But again, a piece that you've learned, and it's cool because it's not the standard just player jersey. Oh, look what he does to the sleeves. And you seem to see less and less of that in the modern players. And I don't know why, because you used to see so many modifications that guys did. And I don't know if the younger guys coming into the league don't want to ask the trainers for that kind of stuff or what, but I miss those things because it's so
Yeah.
cool. I mean, I've seen ones where the hems were shortened or extra material was added in the sleeves or different things, and it's cool to see that because then the jerseys modified even more. So picking up future ones of that player, you know what to look for.
Exactly. And for Evgeny, not to say anything bad, but his jerseys don't always have the most wear, but at least I know he wore it if the sleeves are done.
Sure. Now, does Lyon do anything special with any of his, or does he just throw it on and stop pucks?
He likes to be not complicated, right?
He's a low maintenance guy.
Yeah. So this is a cute story. Ville Husso he likes the fancier things. He has these beautiful suspenders. I'm like, what's the word? Suspenders, and I think they're monogram. They have, all the bells and whistles, state of the art. And
I've seen those when he was with St.
yeah.
Louis.
Yeah, I knew you would know. So somebody might have asked if Alex Lyon wanted something similar, and he goes, "Well, why would I want that? These work great." And that was the thing Megan did not want me to put up because I brought it here by accident 'cause it doesn't smell great. But his suspenders are duct taped. At least it's red duct tape, so it's on brand. But they're just, I mean, it looks like there's got to be something better. But no, he just makes do with what he's given. Gotta love it.
He's wearing it almost makes me think he's wearing the basic level elastic suspenders and has worn them for years, basically until they wore out. Because a lot of guys, both goalies and players, will wear some of that gear till you just can't anymore. Superstitious, or they're so used to that until they just can't wear it. So you may have ended up a pair he's worn for years.
They smell like it.
Yeah.
So he must also wear that. He must not put his suspenders over his pads. He wears them underneath them just to hold his pants up. Because some goalies will put the suspenders. I do them. They go over my gear to keep my shoulders and stuff down. Others will just put them underneath to keep their pants up. So I'm leaning more toward that if it smells that bad, because otherwise it's just over your chest protector, which you're not getting. I mean, the outside's not getting sweaty.
Yeah, I feel horrible. They're not that bad. I'm sure they're like status quo for smelly suspenders. I mean, I don't know if Alex Lyon will ever watch this podcast, but I'm sure he smells lovely.
We will find a way to tag him or get it shared with him or something. Just to
so embarrassed. So embarrassed.
And you can thank Husso for not doing good because you're seeing Alex Lyon a whole lot more.
Yeah. Well, he's injured right now, sadly, but he skated in practice today. Yeah, today. Yeah. And I think this weekend too. So he's at least skating, which is a good sign. So I'm hoping we will see him on this West Coast road trip, if not tomorrow in Pittsburgh. Sounds like Cam Talbot is confirmed for tomorrow. So it's more of a question of who will be back up. I think it's probably going to be Hoos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So getting back to the say a little bit, you dig to the racks, you find the jerseys you want. How many Lion jerseys and any other ones that you find, just going through that part first?
Boy, are you outing me?
So many.
You don't have, if you don't want to
my husband
numbers, I'm totally good with that.
I'm just trying to think of how many I told my husband. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Not to watch this podcast later.
No, he's been in our study, so he definitely knows. At the time I bought the Red Series 1, which I did not style in the best way because it's completely hidden. But it has some.
You didn't know exactly where the camera might show things, but that's okay. It's right behind you at a good spot nonetheless.
Yes, and it has some beautiful puck marks that we were able to identify. So that was a lot of fun.
And that was the shutout one too, correct?
Yes, okay. Yes. Well, and I have a story about that. I'll get to after this. I got the White Series 1, of course. The red and white exhibition. No, at the time, just the red exhibition and a red practice jersey. And then later, I had remorse that I didn't also get the white exhibition. So that got to have a set. So I did get that after the fact. And then after that, I realized that goalies oftentimes have their, because they wear like 2, 3 plus jerseys in a game sometimes. They
Yep,
have
depending on what they like.
exactly, right? So Lion had 2 Series 1 reds. And so then, since there was a little semblance of doubt that I might not have the 11-22 shutout against New Jersey, I did have to get the second
Had
red,
to.
red Series
And
1.
did you
So now
find
I,
that he
with
wore both
certainty,
of them in that with photo matching or anything, or do you think he just stayed with one?
no, I think I know which one was worn on November 22nd. So I feel good about it. But just in case, the other one
You know
also
you're covered.
lives with me now. So
And then did you head over to the goalie gear side of things?
I actually already had the first pads Lion ever had from the Red Wings, his glove, and then remember I had been searching for the blockers, so I had all of those that were the first ones he gave up as a Red Wing. Actually, when I had him sign them after the fact, he goes, "How did you?" I didn't even know they took these yet. Like, he uses
Surprise!
things until, yeah, he was like, wait, those aren't in my, it was just one of those moments like, wow, nobody has anything from the Red Wings. I'm like, well, if anyone was going to be, it would be me.
I've been calling every day and I bribed a lot of people.
No, it worked out great. I think just again, people, so the backstory with that is like Megan said, when we were all desperate for hockey content at a time when we didn't have any, I was also looking for goalie content and just sort of went down a rabbit hole on YouTube and somehow found myself on the Lehigh Valley page. And long story short, if anybody wants a good giggle and you understand and appreciate sarcastic humor, Alex Lyon's bubble blog had come out, which was they just tapped him because he's hilarious and very dry, witty, um, comical. They asked him to do a couple blog episodes from their time when Lehigh Valley was in Toronto lockdown. And so I just watching that content was like, well, this guy is a character and obviously very smart because either you get his humor or you don't. But he's also going places like he is legit and he just hasn't really had a chance yet to prove himself. So watching his career develop from there, and then finally, he went to Carolina. For a year, was able to do really well with the Chicago Wolves, and then Florida. And I had just been talking to my husband, like, we need to go down and watch the Wings do like Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay because they're always close together and do a little
Oh
vacation.
yeah.
And they had announced it was end of July that we had signed Alex Lyon and James Reimer at the same time, which was really interesting. So I had called immediately the authentic store. No, it wasn't the authentic store. I called just to order a jersey of Lions, and they didn't even have him listed as on the roster yet as a
You were
player.
faster than the store was.
Yeah, they thought it was my last name. Like, so you want like a personalized jersey? And I'm like, no, 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 like our new goalie. So
Read the news for your team, please.
yeah, yeah. So because if you remember 23 when Bobrovsky was injured, and Lyon had to step in, the Panthers were likely not going to make the playoffs. And he just went
Right.
on that run and
Yep.
got I believe it was his first NHL shutout with the Panthers, and just they got him into the playoffs. They went all the way to the finals. It was incredible. And I actually have his shirt from the Stanley Cup finals too, that a friend helped
Of
me
course you
find.
do.
Yeah, it was hard to choose what to bring tonight. So anyway, I was a broken squeaky wheel going in before every game saying like, "Hey, I'm the Alex Lyon fan."
I'm the lion lady.
I'm the Lion. No, a couple of people started calling me the Lioness, which was really
I love that even better. That is
yeah,
awesome.
it was cute. Nice. Sometimes, I like to do big hair at the game, so it was all very fitting. So as soon as the knowledge of the pads in the glove became available, like they were going to be swapped out for a new set. I think everybody just knew, like, oh, we know who these are going to go to. So it worked out really great. So I was able to get them through the buying them directly from the shop, which, but I think they knew, like, oh, she's going to come for these.
We'll just hold them over here. We'll just already put her name on it. She's not even going to say no.
Yeah.
For sure.
So how long did you end up staying inside the sale as you guys wander around kind of checking other things out once you knew you had your what you stood in line for 47 days?
We're definitely we were definitely there for like hour and a half.
Yeah.
Maybe a little more.
Well, Megan found you already had tell them your prized possession that you told me if anything if Megan ever gets hit by a bus. The first thing I have to do is
Take care of my dirty stool from Joe Louis Arena
Mhm.
locker room.
Oh, that's fun. One of the
Look-
players' tools.
Yeah, it looks like a piece of garbage, so it's important that people realize that it is not.
if somebody came into her home other than us, they would immediately be like, well, that clearly can just be tossed out. So she was most concerned that we save the Joe Louis stool, but there were at least 3 other ones at the equipment sale. That was a great surprise.
Yeah,
Okay.
they had just kind of been stashed. I think there was
Mhm.
maybe 6 or 8. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
They had just been kind of stashed and they came out. So that was a great little little relic for people to get a hold
Surprise and
of.
delight.
Yeah.
So we spent some time examining the stools, looking underneath because you could tell some of them either had names or numbers. They just had numbers. So we were having fun just looking back to figure out whose butt was on those. And a
But
friend
it's,
of ours went
again,
home.
I mean, it's Red Wings history out of the Joe.
Oh, absolutely. Talk about history.
So whose did you end up with, or whose ass do you think was on that?
I believe the last lovely man to sit on that stool was Darren Helm.
Mhm.
Wow, that goes back a bit.
Yeah.
It does. And a fun thing about those stools is they're one of the only things that came over from Joe Louis, because obviously when Little Caesars was built, everything was brand new. But I couldn't tell you why they brought those locker room stools.
Mhm.
I don't know if maybe like the order wasn't in for the new stools, but those gross Joe Louis Arena stools spent 1 season in the Little Caesars locker room.
Especially because they do look like they are straight out of 1970. Like they're like the light wood that like Chris, like
We know the
would have
Wings
been in the
like to
Brady Bunch.
recycle. They like to recycle jerseys and stuff for multiple years. I mean, if the stool still works, you can sit on it. Why replace it every year?
Oh, we should have done the podcast on the stools. Anyway, yeah. So we just had it like you would, Jason, or any of the listeners would. We just had so much fun, going through and touching and looking for the little nuances and all the pieces that made each piece unique and part of hockey history. I know Robert would probably cringe if he saw our like oh gosh, everything's just thrown.
Yes. Robert is very good at taking care of his equipment and his jerseys, and it's very impressive. And I think he'll probably look at this and be like, what are you girls doing?
I know. I need him to come tell me, which ones I should really like put under glass and do all the things he does and preserve at least like a couple. But I personally love the fact that it is tangible. Collecting lets you take something you're so passionate about, the sport, the NHL, the teams, the players, and touch, and feel and remember. God, I remember sitting that in the front row with my husband and my brother, laughing, cheering, losing our voices. And now like this piece is in my house. And that's now, I think it's that tangible nature of it that makes collecting just really cool.
Because then you can go back and watch the NHL highlights or watch the game if it's streamed somewhere online, or look at the Getty images and know, okay, I was here and watched him make that stop or watch this thing happen. It came up with some of my stuff the other day. Robert Bortuzzo was back in St. Louis as the Blues were playing Utah. It's his first time back since he had been traded last year. They did a little film like they always do when the nice players come back to town. And one of the clips they showed was him scoring in the Western Conference Finals and doing a big celebration. I own that jersey, so it was neat to see, because I can go watch the highlights from that game online, but seeing that they put it in the welcome back video was cool too, saying, yep, I have that piece, and that was one of the big goals that helped put us into the finals.
Wow.
So it's those little things that you may forget, or it's in the back of your head, and then you see it again, and it just brings all the memories back, and owning whatever piece it is, but the memories of watching that game or being there, or making it more of a personal connection and not just a jersey or a blocker on a wall.
The only piece that I have that I feel slightly guilty about, and if it comes to it, please make sure he gets it if he wants it. I have Evgeny's reverse retro, the first 1.0 reverse retro, and he wore that jersey in the first game that he played Andre. And
Oh, wow.
there's a photo of them together in that jersey. So that's the only one that I feel a little guilty about. That was the first time brother played brother, and I've got it.
So cool.
But it's cool because then you have those extra special pictures that they took because the NHL loves to catch those kind of things. So it's not just, oh, yep, there's him skating by and his brother's on the ice. No, it's side by side and you know you have it.
Yes, that one.
No, don't feel guilty. He could have asked the team probably if he really wanted to. So other than the stool for you, Megan, what other did you find any other interesting pieces that you took home from the Red Wing sale?
No, I really didn't. I was well behaved that sale. Yeah, I think most of the stuff that I want is just out and I've got to find it. And but I so love going and seeing the things and experiencing it and watching everybody get their things. Like just talking to people and then telling, oh, look what I found and this is why I want it and I remember this, and it's just so much fun to be able to enjoy that with other people.
Well, and like you both said too, is as you're talking in line, okay, this person's looking for that. I'm not going to touch it, but if I can grab one for them because 10 people are in front of them or whatever, I might be able to do that. Or yeah, it's you start teaming up if you know you're not going after the same stuff, because then it's just fun and you're just helping each other out.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Definitely.
And Megan did say, so her collection is incredibly impressive, as I know many of the listeners are, but you got to the point where you have so many things you love. Now it's just having one special of each, not all the things. But so I'm trying to take that life lesson to heart as a newer collector, so I don't end up with every piece.
I don't need everything
yeah.
he had, but it would be nice to have one of everything.
Yeah. And I think for you too, you've got such a diversified team list.
Say that right now, and I will not stick to that. Just so everybody knows, I will not.
Well, we can always come back and replay this tape to say, well, Megan said.
When you
got it, I want it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that is so true. That's so true. I started with like, okay, I'm just gonna collect like the Red Wings pieces that I really want and maybe the jerseys. And then, you get the nameplates and it's just like, why do I have smelly suspenders? That was not on the list.
You needed them.
Because nobody else has them.
No, that is true. That is true. And the Florida pants. Oh, that's another thing. So I have the Florida pants. I do not have a Florida game used jersey. So if you have any listeners who know, oh, I might find a Lion Florida jersey, that would be really special. It's the only one I'm missing. I brought Carolina and Philly.
See, we will be on the lookout for that. And if a collector has one or know if I don't know what the Panther store still has floating around of older things and whatnot, because it's possible. Sometimes the teams seem to hang on to the cat crap a lot longer than you expect, and then it randomly shows up.
About the Blues, like just stuff pops up, and you're like, "Where did you guys have that?" It's
right.
Amazing.
Yeah, the number of just really old shit that shows up, and it's like, what the hell? And we question them at our St. Louis Expo a lot about that, and they're getting much better in getting rid of. They're keeping the high end stuff, so they'll be at special auctions for when they do their Hall of Fame nights and stuff like that. But more of the regular players, they're trying to get a lot more of that stuff moved out, and a lot of their home games recently have had game jerseys for $100, either preseason or guys that were traded off. I picked up a few white and a blue one recently. I mean, I bought Nick Ritchie's away jersey. He only had a PTO, but he's been around the league a bit. And I'm like, for $100 for an Adidas jersey, great. They're selling their blanks.
I understand that you can't get a blank non-game use for that price. That's incredible.
And they're selling the blank ones. They had them they did a season ticket holder event last night, and the blank Home Road and Heritage were $125.
Wow. There you go.
All the made in Canada. I mean, their game jerseys, they still have the NHL, the official tag from Adidas on them. Take them up the road to Levy and get them lettered with whoever. But they just don't want to sit on all that stuff because there's so much incoming and everything else. And maybe the Wings need to get a clue for some of that and lower the prices on some rando stuff.
We are an expensive team. I mean, for collectors.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because I've heard some of the prices for some of what the higher end guys go, and about fell out of my chair on a few of them.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Good thing we don't collect the, what do we call them? I don't want to insult our guys.
There's the high end players.
Wait, good thing we're not collecting the highest end player. No.
Trust me, I'm not in that market either. And I will say, I mean, looking at what our Blues prices sell for, it makes me laugh because even our higher end guys are maybe a couple thousand. I've never seen the kind of numbers that McDavid or the Wings and some of those other teams have. I'm like, you'd never see that in St. Louis unless it's some ungodly level person.
Wow, that's wild.
When I can pick up on average, I picked up an assistant captain last year for $350 and decent wear with the A on it. I'm like, I'll buy those all day long.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So I have a quick question for you, Jason. So you're a goalie?
Yep. Goalie and actually play goalie and forward both.
Oh, that's interesting combination. We got to see Jimmy
I was
Howard
just gonna
play. We went to the Detroit Red Wings Shoresy game.
Oh yeah.
Last night, which was a great time. If you like Shoresy, you're gonna love. Try to get tickets to your local town, if they're coming. But we got to see Jimmy Howard. We thought he'd be in net. He was playing defense, and he scored. And he did one of the. It was adorable because he scored, and he was like, was a minute like, wait, what do I do? And then he skated back. He was smiling
from this side before.
He just couldn't stop smiling.
It's funny though, because and I've talked to several, I've got to play in Blues alumni fantasy camps and things like that. And a lot of the former goalies have come back, even some of the younger ones, Chris Mason and some of those guys, and they all skate out now.
Oh, do
they very few of them, unless it's something really big or special, will strap on the pads anymore. McKenna's the same way. I got to play against him. I skated out in the alumni event or in the fantasy camp, but he was skating out and was one of the fastest guys out there. He'll only do it. He went and played in the Flyers charity event 2 years ago in net, but almost any other charity thing, he'll skate out because he's been in net for so long. A lot of those guys have. They enjoy being a regular skater.
Yeah. And you have to be such a great skater to be a goalie and get up and down that fast. And
you've not seen me play. So but yeah, professional, yes, you do. Me, lucky I can stand there most of the time.
Oh my goodness. Well, I have mad respect for goalies. I think when I was a kid, my parents said, would you like a jersey? The first jersey I asked for was Eddie Belfour from Chicago.
You know what? Good choice.
But he's like, Devon, we're Red Wings people. I'm like, it's Eddie Belfour. So I got Eddie Belfour. And then in high school, when the starter jackets were like, popular, the first time around for Gen Z, I know they're back, but the first time around, my parents were like, what do you want for Christmas? I wanted a starter jacket. So they assumed I wanted Red Wings. I'm like, no, I want the Rangers. I love Mike Richter. So I always had these like phases of my life where I loved these different goalies. And I finally realized I could just really relate, right? Like you're part of a team sport, but you're also on an island and you're the only person on the ice for 60 minutes and you're always under so much scrutiny, right? Like you win, they thank the goalie, you lose, they blame the goalie. So in my own dance world and working in automotive and being a female, I think I always was just feeling like I was part of the team, but also just trying to prove myself. And so I've just always had a soft spot in my heart for goalies. And so I'm so excited to know you're a goalie. I knew I liked you.
And Richter and Belfour both always had awesome goalie helmet designs.
Oh, heck
yeah. With all the different Eagle and Richter with the Rangers look and just the top-notch stuff. I mean, another reason to be attached to them is just they always had that's one of the players you could, even if you hated them, you always wanted to see what their masks were going to be because they didn't switch halfway through the year or the special event. That's what they wore the whole season.
Yep, that's true. I wonder where those are now. Wonder if they kept them all.
I think, Belfour sold all of his stuff to actually fund his bourbon. He sold his entire collection I think it was through Classic or one of them. And it was masks, pads, the whole bit. It was to fund the bourbon. I think Richter might have some, but I know at least one European collector, I believe, has a few, if I remember correctly, because we did 5-6 years ago, did a show in Chicago the weekend of the Frozen Four, and Richter was there for the college awards, and they ran into him and got his goalie mask signed.
That's amazing.
So
I just hope one day someone says, "Where are all of Alex Lyon's game used pieces?" And they can be like, "Oh, I know that woman who probably has them."
and I hope you get them. Is there any other pieces or any other goalie you would like to collect?
Oh, well, Bobrovsky, but that's not going to happen. The only thing I have that's really cool of Bob's is you're probably familiar with the second string leather company. They do
I
the
have one of their wallets, yes.
yeah, I did get the Bobrovsky wallet that came out this summer.
With his name stitched on it or just
With the bob. He does bob in
yes.
red thread from his pads that they were 20, I think they were 23, 24s, maybe 22, 23s, but they're, the bob red and it's right there and it's got a big puck mark through it. And oh, so I can say I sort of have something game used, right? Sort
You
of.
do. I mean, and I know a lot of collectors kind of get pissed with that. The modern stuff I don't have much of issue with. It's when they cut up the old things. But
Yeah.
all the modern goalies go through so many sets of pads, it's not as big a deal. But no, that's a cool way to have that. And I actually have McKenna's one of his sets of gloves went to them, and I happened to pick up one that had his name stitched on them. So yeah, that's my daily wallet now.
Nice. Megan actually has.
I have quite a few, and
Yeah.
my favorite is definitely I don't get as crazy about the goalies, but I did love Jimmy Howard's iceberg pads.
Oh
I,
yeah.
I love those pads, and they did his pink breast cancer pads. So I have one of the icebergs from that set, and I do have like a keychain that was from the icebergs. But those are my absolute favorite pads, and maybe someday I'll find a set that I can put in my collection, but I do have Kevin Hodgson's icebergs. So the original icebergs, I have Ticker's like love blocker pads.
They're
So
gorgeous.
And those are another one of those things that goalies are starting to do more and more, especially with the outdoor games, the Winter Classics, is doing just awesome, badass designs on those with Reebok Bauer doing the digiprint and some of the other teams really going, or the design companies going outside the norm. And yeah, when those icebergs first came out, again, not a fan of the team, but going, wow, that's an awesome setup. And one of the Blues prospects, Zherenko, who's with the AHL Springfield team, did a set where up the pads was the kind of the edges of the blue note, and then they were on both gloves. And I've seen that whole setup for sale. I just couldn't drop $2,000 to get it.
Yeah. Wow.
But it's a beautiful set because of how they did the blue note rising up both pads, and it matched up, and the way they did them on the gloves. It's just so cool to see not just colors, but a really neat
Yeah.
in-depth design that just looks well put together.
for sure. And you have to love whatever Magnus Hellberg comes up with when someone makes him a
Oh
setup.
yeah.
How much
Mhm.
fun is he? Like such great setup.
Yeah. I always love Igor's. Shesterkin's like always looks kind of tie-dye or something to me, but he does some cool. Alex Lyon purposely chooses all white. He likes that it's crisp, clean. And I know there's a few goalies who also prefer that at some, when they're at a point in their career where they're just being professional, and I like that. They're crisp.
Be professional, but be fun. I mean, so many I've seen, like I actually own a set from Mike. When he worked for the Vegas Golden Knights, he would fill in as a practice goalie if they needed somebody. And he had Bauer do a set, and at distance, they're the Vegas colors and they look nice. But when you get up close in the digiprint, it's the Vegas sword logo and all that. And it's really subtle in the pads, but you got to be up close to see it. So it's some of those kind of things that just, it looks good here, but then you're up close and you're like, wait, it has all this other stuff.
Yeah. I will say that's kind of Lions mask this season. If you're just looking at it from the your seats, you see the red racing stripe, you see the wing wheel and his number, but when you're close up, he has in just gray and white, really subtly, all these different icons from around the city of Detroit, the spirit of Detroit, I think the old Olympia sign is on there. It's really pretty cool, but subtle like that.
And because then you stare at it quick. Yeah, it's a cool wings mask, but then you just start focusing on pieces and then keep finding more stuff. And it's so cool that the goalies like to spend time doing that, and it continues to be encouraged, I think, a lot.
Definitely show their personality. We
So
need that in the NHL.
nice. So, any other, as we kind of wrap this up, Megan, I'll start with you. Any kind of final thoughts, or any other players you want to start collecting? Or are you kind of still trying to just catch catch the ones that you're already involved in?
Yeah, I'm pretty focused in on Evgeny Svechnikov and Wade Megan. Those are kind of the ones. Yeah, I don't really think there's anybody that I'm trying to branch out with too much. I'm sure eventually at some point it's going to happen because there's only so much you can do with two players like that who only went so far. There's only so much you can do. So I'm sure someone will come along eventually. But there was definitely a real personal connection with Evgeny, and he'll be hard to replace for sure.
You don't have to just add more.
Yes.
And Devon, what about you?
I have one game used Sebastian Kosa, or exhibition used, but all the same, I do love Kosa, and hopefully we'll get to see him in the Red Wings official NHL team very soon, because he's fantastic, very tall too. I have a picture with him on the ice, and I'm 5'2" and he's 6'7" before skates, so that's a really funny one. I would like to, I think, as he grows with the Red Wings organization, build my collection with him. But outside the Red Wings organization, if Megan didn't get too angry, I would love to have something from Pyotr Kochekov. We may have to share. It may have to be a timeshare situation.
The only goal that would upset.
Where's Lincoln?
Well, I guess you guys aren't going to the equipment sales anymore together.
No, I know. No, it might have to be like where we co-adopt it, and I get like summer and she gets, fall, or like maybe she
You
gets.
have a whole back and forth schedule on it.
We'll like drive Pyotr to each other's homes.
Okay. I do love Elvis, and it's just more of the sad story of all of that, and I feel so bad.
Yeah.
But no, all good thoughts. And again, if people listening to this, if you have jerseys they're looking for, reach out to them or reach out through me. I'll definitely help get in contact. I love helping fellow collectors get stuff in their collection. And like I say, as many times over the years with sending you random Wade Megan stuff via either the Blues auctions or other people are selling stuff or whatever. It's funny how randomly that stuff shows up.
Just out of nowhere.
Very
cool. I'll be Devon, I'll be on the lookout for the Lion Panthers one if we don't hear from anybody. So hopefully there should be at least two of them floating around, I would think.
Yeah, definitely.
So we can hope. But with that, again, thank you for all your time. I really appreciate you guys both reaching out, wanting to come on. It's been a lot of fun, and hopefully you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And again, I'm sorry Wade and Paul both had some schedule conflicts ended up coming up tonight, but again, it's been so much fun to get your guys' perspective on things. And I'll ask one more question to both of you before we get out of here. Being women in collecting, have you had issues with that, or have you found you were accepted pretty quick once you could basically, it wasn't typical, again, the early arguments I've heard of women of, you like him because he's hot, or this kind of the stupid crap. Once you started showing that you know his background, it's not just because he's cute. Did people pretty much accept you guys as collectors, or have you noticed, hopefully not, had any issues with other collectors kind of brushing you off to the side?
I don't think so at all. I think I was very much accepted right from the start. There was maybe one person at one point who was maybe trying to just check in and maybe a little mansplaining. He's like, Evgeny Svechnikov, he's not good, right? And I'm like, I think we both know it's okay. Like, that's not why.
It does. Yeah. I don't have to collect somebody because they're a good player.
Yeah, no, that's not what it's about. It's no, it's just I think a lot of the times in meeting people and talking with them, like once you have a conversation, they realize that, you do know what you're talking about. It's not about that at all. And I don't want to say that he's, not a good looking guy, but I don't think he's on the top of anybody's list. So when I mentioned Evgeny Svechnikov, they're usually like, oh, okay, like that must be like somewhat legit, because that's not.
And you actually got to eat dinner with him at a fundraiser, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how it all started. I've been fortunate enough, we'll do it really quick, to volunteer for the Wings at Training Camp for about the last 10 years. I've been doing it, and part of that often included a dinner with a golf outing. And a lot of the times I get stuck at the charity table with the player because nobody wants to sit by the player. I don't know why. Why wouldn't you want that? But I just happened to get sat next to Evgeny and nobody talks to him. I mean, he's just a prospect, nobody cares. And I finally was like, you know what? Let's just chat him up and just have the best time with him. Great personality. Got to ask him fun questions, ask how his brother's doing. Just silly questions like, what did you think of the Joe versus Little Caesars? And he just spent the whole night chatting and was just so kind and even took the time to take me to meet Jonathan Bernier and take our picture and just really just an outstanding guy. And
Well, and just by you starting to talk to him spurned all kinds of other stuff, and and you made him feel more welcome.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yes. Yes. But having that personal connection, of course, you're going to root for him and want to see him have a successful career. And then you bring your love of collecting and having hockey history into that. It's just an added bonus. So that was when I finally got to meet Alex Lyon. I tried to play it cool and not come in strong with like, hey, I'm, been following you for so long. I just, thanked him. And but of course he was just as hilarious and colorful and witty and all the things that you would expect, on top of, again, coming to the Wings as an underdog, then proving himself and becoming our starter. Like, to see that, I was like, this is like a microcosm of everything I've been saying as to why you are so phenomenal. So yeah, I collect because I want to cheer him on and support his career, but also just have for myself all the mementos of the parts of the game and the memories of the game that mean so much to us. So your question though about being female in that respect, I like Megan, I don't think I get questioned for the wrong reasons. But I do get mistaken when my husband's with me as the the spouse who's there to support the collector more often than I'm assumed to be the collector. And I do love that my husband immediately chimes in, no, this is her, ask her. But as soon as you start talking hockey with Megan and I think Robert said on the phone, we will put most of the guys in our circle in place real quick with our hockey knowledge, so then we don't get questioned.
Now you know what you need to do going forward is, if you and your husband are at an event where he's carrying your stuff, you need to have one shirt that says, I'm carrying it, she's the collector. Just wear that shirt and see what kind of reaction you get from people.
Oh, I love that. Okay, well, now I know what I'm getting.
Or he wears a shirt that says it's all her stuff with an arrow.
This is all her. This is all her.
That'd be so good.
Yeah. I'm just carrying things. But no, that's so awesome, and it's fun to see those kind of things happening, and probably how many people you surprise when, like you said, especially with a height difference too, you and your husband and everybody just, oh yeah, that's going to be nope. That's so awesome to hear that. But again, I've taken up enough of your time. I know it's even later out there for you. And again, thank you to your friend for setting you up with an awesome podcast studio. Could have done it from anywhere, but great setup. Even just chucking jerseys back there quick, it looks great, and it's cool to see all the different colors from the different teams and catch the Jets logo in there and the seals and yeah, you've got red and white. It's all the colors. So it's they don't have to be spread out nice, but just be able to pick out all the different colors. You guys did so awesome. And again, thank you for all the time with me tonight. And I hope you had as much fun as I did.
For sure. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. This was awesome.
You guys are both welcome. Anytime we'll get you on. At some point, I want to do kind of a big roundtable and talk about the future of the hobby on that stuff, and definitely want to get you guys on for that. So we will plan that for the near future and kind of do a big state of the hobby kind of thing.
Great.
We're in.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, enjoy the game tomorrow. You guys are traveling out to see the Wings.
Yes, we will be in Pittsburgh. Go Wings.
Well, I think the Wings have a pretty good chance to win that game because Pittsburgh doesn't seem to know how to do a damn thing.
It makes me nervous.
We are winning the games we shouldn't have necessarily won, and then losing the ones we absolutely should have won. So I hold my breath and don't take anything for granted in this league.
And if
It's not
they
the women's
lose, feel free to send me a message bitching at me for saying this tonight. But
game.
again, thank you so much, and you guys have very safe travels out there and back for the game. Enjoy it, and it's always nice when you go on the road and see your team. So thank you, and we will have you on again soon.
Thanks,
Thank
Jason.
you.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.